Stephen Smith. I'm with Christian Leadership Partners. And for the last 24 days or so, we've been doing a coaching session. Hopefully these coaching sessions are making a difference in your life and they're the tools that you're able to use to become your best you, because that's what our ultimate goal is. If this is the first session that you've seen, I really do encourage you to go back and take a look at our first session. These sessions are actually a process of goal development, and what we've been doing since the very beginning has been the development of our goals. We've gone through different steps to identify what those goals are and what they should be, not only for our financial needs, our physical needs, or our spiritual needs, but for the needs that we want to accomplish, we feel that God has actually called us to. So what we want to do is we want to actually start from the beginning, because all of these steps are all progressive. Now, I do encourage you to watch this video all the way to the end, because every single one of them should have something special for you, because we're actually taking these coaching sessions from the Word of God. We're going straight from Proverbs, and today we'll be doing Proverbs chapter 24. Proverbs 24 is actually going to help us to identify that one small step that we can take. God tells us that He does not despise the small beginnings of things. And if we know that, and if we understand that, then we can realize that even the smallest step can produce the greatest results. For example, when T-Mobile bought Sprint, they automatically in one day doubled the amount of customers that they had. They doubled their amount of stores. They doubled the amount of their product. And they were able to do this in one fell swoop, one single step. So what we want to do is we want to be able to identify that first single small step that we can take that will produce our greatest results. That's what I mean by a quantum step. So what we want to do is we want to identify it, and then we actually want to take it. So Proverbs 24 actually helps us to start seeing some of those things. You know, in Proverbs 24, we learn this, that a house is built by wisdom and becomes strong through good sense. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with all sorts of precious riches and valuables. So Proverbs 24 actually will help us to understand these things. And if I can go through Proverbs 24 and identify the different things that are important in it, then what I can do is I can start using this proverb to help me change the way that I think, the way that I look at things, and the way that I approach life. So what we want to do is we want to identify these key items in Proverbs 24, and I encourage you to look for some of these things. Proverbs chapter 24 tells us not to hang around with or envy evil people. It also talks about the true value of wisdom and valuable advice. It tells us not to plan evil, for God knows what our heart is actually thinking. It also compares wisdom to honey and how sweet that is. Proverbs 24 also talks about how the godly are stronger than you really think that they are. He also tells us to love our enemies, which is something that Jesus Christ actually proclaimed when He was here on this earth as well. It also talks about how we should fear the Lord and also those who are in charge of us. We also want to take a good look at godly values as the true justice in this world. And then we want to also address laziness and how it's disastrous in our lives, or we can see that it's disastrous in other lives as well. So let's take a look at Proverbs chapter 24, and we can see how it's actually going to help us to understand a little bit of these things. So we'll read through this, and we're going to be in the New Living Translation. I hope that it really blesses you as we read through this proverb. Don't envy evil people or desire their company, for their hearts plot violence and their words always stir up trouble. A house is built by wisdom and becomes strong through good sense. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with all sorts of precious riches and valuables. The wise are mightier than the strong, and those with knowledge grow stronger and stronger. So don't go to war without wise guidance. Victory depends on having many advisors. Wisdom is too lofty for fools. Among leaders at the city gate, they have nothing to say. A person who plans evil will get a reputation as a troublemaker. The schemes of a fool are sinful. Everyone detests a mocker. If you fail under pressure, your strength is too small. Rescue those who are unjustly sentenced to die. Save them as they stagger to their death. Don't excuse yourself by saying, "Look, we didn't know." For God understands all hearts and He sees you. He who guards your soul knows you knew. He will repay all people as their actions deserve. My child, eat honey, for it is good, and the honeycomb is sweet to the taste. In the same way, wisdom is sweet to your soul. If you find it, you will have a bright future, and your hopes will not be cut short. Don't wait in ambush at the homes of the godly, and don't raid the house where the godly live. The godly may trip 7 times, but they'll get up again. But one disaster is enough to overthrow the wicked. Don't rejoice when your enemies fall. Don't be happy when they stumble, for the Lord will be displeased with you, and He will turn His anger away from them. Don't fret because of evildoers. Don't envy the wicked, For evil people have no future. The light of the wicked will be snuffed out. My child, fear the Lord and the king. Don't associate with rebels, for disaster will hit them suddenly. Who knows what punishment will come from the Lord and the king? Here's some further sayings of the wise. It's wrong to show favoritism when passing judgment. A judge who says to the wicked, you are innocent, will be cursed by many people and denounced by the nations. But it will go well for those who convict the guilty. Rich blessings will be showered on them, and honest answers like the kiss of friendship. Do your planning and prepare your fields before building your house. Don't testify against your neighbors without cause. Don't lie about them, and don't say, now I can pay them back for what they've done to me. I'll get even with them. I walked by the field as a lazy person, the vineyard of one with no common sense. I saw that it was overgrown with nettles, it was covered with weeds, and its walls were broken down. Then as I looked and thought about it, I learned this lesson. A little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber. So Proverbs chapter 24 actually tells us several different things that helps us to see the value of what wisdom can do for us, but it also tells us to seek out wise advice. Did you see that? You know, we provided you with a link down in the comment section below to our goal worksheet. And on that goal worksheet, there's a space on there for us to be able to write down what we learned from Proverbs today. And I really do encourage you to do that. What I found was that if we seek wise advice, we'll actually find it. So we want to make sure that we take that wise advice and then we actually begin to plan for it prosperously. The Passion Translation tells us this in the 6th verse. Wise strategy is necessary to wage war, and with many astute advisors, you'll see the path to victory more clearly. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we actually have the wise advice that we need to make the decisions that we can to do what it is that God has called us to do. And today what we want to do is we want to do that by taking our first quantum step. Now we've gone through the planning phase where we identified our goals. We also went through and identified a strategic plan on how to achieve those goals. And if you haven't seen those, I really do encourage you to go back and take a look at those. But what we're going to do today is we're going to actually take that first step, that quantum step, that big step that we know that we can actually take. This is going to feel very uncomfortable for you, but what we want to do is we want to apply our faith to what it is that God has told us that He wants us to do. We've identified this as our goals, and we've already identified these things as godly goals. We've set them aside, and we're ready to go out and we're ready to start doing them. So now what we have to do is we need to take that step. Now, all throughout this entire teaching and through this coaching, I've encouraged you to take these steps immediately. As soon as you identify something to do, I want you to make sure that that's what God wants, and then you got to take the step. You can't keep putting it off. If you put it off for 3 days, that 3 days will come 3 weeks, and then it'll be 3 years, and then it'll be 3 decades, and your life will be over. So these are the 3 things that we want to do with our quantum step. What we want to do is identify the smallest step that we can take that's going to produce the greatest results. And if I can do that, then I know that I'm well on my way to identifying that quantum step. The second thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that that step will take me to the next level. I don't want to take a step backwards and actually take a quantum step backwards where I lose the things that I've gained. So make sure that you're moving forward and you're moving upward and going from glory to glory, not from disaster to disaster. God has not called you to do that. The third thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that that step of faith moves you out of your boat and onto the water. We want to be able to make sure that we're stepping out of that boat and onto that unknown, even though we see Jesus is there and He's calling us. Remember, Jesus was there to catch Peter when he stepped out of the boat and his faith doubted or it wavered. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we expel all fear, all doubt, and all worry. And once we're able to do those things, then we're able to see exactly what it is that Christ has done for us. Remember, you can do all things, but only through Christ who strengthens you. And if you're able to do that, and if you have the confidence to be able to do that, and if you know that Jesus Christ is with you and God is backing you up in your goals, then why not take that quantum step and become that miracle going someplace to happen?